Political parties race against the deadline to form a new government. Some in the economic sector are calling on those involved in talks not to compromise key sectors of the economy. Joining us now is Redge Nkosi, the Executive Director at Firstsource Money. Thank you so much for your time, Reg, for joining us this evening. Now, in your opinion, what has been the impact of the announcement by the ANC in wanting a government of national unity on overall market sentiment and performance in the country?
Well, it seems from the way we have been looking at the markets and the general sentiments around the business community is that, the announcement by the ANC that a GNU will be constituted it looks a good thing for the market and therefore for the entire business community. But I think we should be very careful here when we say the markets and business community. We are referring essentially to a coterie of very few companies that undermine sometimes the performance of the very economy which they're in. However, that is the sentiment that the economy is going to be okay under the GNU. But I'm not particularly sure whether that is likely to be the case in the long run. I think temporarily, yes, but I doubt if at all this will be the case going forward, because these same companies are going to be undermining the policy regimes that are going to be constructed by the GNU, in my view, because the GNU itself doesn't have one coherent policy approach to economy and matters related thereto.
And what would be the impact there of Reg in that undermining of these companies of the GNU in the future?
Well, I think here's the issue. If you look at the past performance of this economy, it has been essentially very, very poor. Why? Is because we have been following a policy regime which these companies have been very supportive of. But this particular policy regime undermines the entire economy. In other words, the economy won't be able to grow. It will not be able to grow because the macroeconomic framework under which this policy regime is implemented is contrary to the needs of the majority population. Therefore, we want to have negative consequences for the economy. For example, debt is going to continue to grow. Poverty is going to continue to increase. Unemployment, likewise. In other words, that what the markets say is good is actually not good for the entire economy. So the markets are not the economy themselves. They're not. The markets are, in fact, about the quick buck they have to make out of an economy that is quite poor. They don't care. But the rest of us will certainly be finding ourselves in extraordinary circumstances. ESCOM is likely the tariffs are likely to increase. Water is likely to increase. The interest rates are likely to go up. Such is not the environment that can grow an economy. However, that is what these companies prefer.
So in order to avert that, Babu Nkosi, in order for us to move into a space where the economy is favorable to a majority of the people on the ground, what do you think needs to happen at this very point in the political sphere?
In our view, the ANC has got some policies which are very wonderful. I'm not talking about the ANC policies that are aligned to the DA. I'm talking about the policies that were reflected in the 54th National Conference, the resolutions thereof, of fundamentally reorganizing the economy, fundamentally changing the macroeconomic framework that we operate under. That will support the entire economy, not the regime that we are using right now, which is essentially the DA regime and the regime which is supported by these companies that are said to be the markets. They're essentially very, very few. Not more than the fingers on our two hands, but they're very, very powerful, and they can, in fact, drive the economy to the side that they wish, which I'm afraid is not good for the entire economy.
And so would you then reckon an EFF MK party type of marriage together with the ANC would have similar ideologies with regards to how they foresee the economy and how they would want the economy moving forward in ensuring that those people on the ground are then benefited from that economy?
There's total ideological incoherence between the ANC and the DA. In our view, the ANC should have gone with, as a leftist party, as it claims, should have gone with the MK, EFF, and other left-wing parties. Therein, they can come up with new policies, or they're already there anyway, but the ANC has not been implementing at all. It has been implementing DA policies. And the DA policies are what have given us this state of the economy. To the extent that the EFF, MK, and ANC come together, a new regime will be in place, which regime would benefit the entire economy, not a sector of the economy. Now, when I'm saying sector, the sectarian interests of the DA is what is benefiting today, has been benefiting for the past so many years, to the disadvantage of the rest of the economy or the rest of the population.
So with the threat of an economic doomsday in the event that the ANC moves more towards the leftists, what are we then to envision the economy or the markets, how they would then behave and what the impact then would be on South Africa as a whole?
The phrase doomsday is the same as Swat Khefar. There's nothing different from that. That's how they want to tell us we should, in fact, not constitute a government, that is is between the ANC, the EFF, and the MK. There's no such. Firstly, when you have a government of the ANC, MK, and EFF, they will have to control the Reserve Bank, which I'm afraid is not necessarily controlled by the ANC, the current ANC, and favors the policies of the DA. They will have to reorganize the Treasury, which I'm afraid is implementing policies that are contrary to the interests of the country or the majority of the people. We think going forward, if these parties can come together, they can have significant influence over these two key institutions that drive the economy. In the future, we are likely to see a growing economy, a vibrant economy, because they'll come in with policies that promote the interests of the country as a whole, not policies that support some 8% of the population. So we are very certain that if the ANC itself was to implement only those policies that it had told us, or rather the conferences gave us, frankly, the economy would change. So we think going forward, the economy is going to be vibrant, it's likely to grow, and the poverty that we see is going to go down. Unemployment is likely to go down as well as a consequence of introducing policies that are consistent with the desires of the majority of the people, not policies that are there to serve a European population that is serving today.
Lastly, Redge, South Africans have made their voices heard by making their mark last week at the ballots. How more beyond voting, beyond going to the ballots and to the polls, can South Africans express their desires in terms of where they would want to see their economic benefits being placed when it comes to some of these political decisions that are being made at such a very crucial time?
It's rather difficult, isn't it? About 80% of the people favor the interests of the majority of the people, and therefore it is incumbent upon every political party, whether it's the DA or the ANC, to follow that route, without which I think it's going to be a short route to chaos, a short route to revolution. There isn't any other way, in my view, that the population can express outside of having to engage the ANC and whoever is in power who seeks to move away from the desires of the population as voted. I think it's just about obeying what the voters have mandated the parties. Move away from the policies that subjugate people, the policies that the ANC clique. I think let's be very, very clear here. The ANC itself and the members have been giving us very reasonable policies. It's the clique of the ANC that works with the DA that has been, in fact, moving in the wrong direction. Hence the mess we find today. And quite frankly, there's no other way outside of the voting system that we can move into the direction so commanded to all of us by the population. So we should move in that direction.
Thank you, Mr. Nkosi. Unfortunately, we have run out of time. Thank you for joining us this evening.